Thank you very much for having me today. My name's Ross, I'm from Stagecoach East, I'm the Operations Director. What that basically means is it's my job to make sure your bus turns up, and if I can make it turn up in time, even better. I've done the job to give a little bit of background on me. Most people think I'm a bus driver, or I'm just fresh out of uni. I know I look baby-faced, but I do have a bit of experience in the industry. I worked for Stagecoach for around 5 years now. Previous to coming to Cambridge, I was one of the operations managers in London, and I ran our largest depot. I've got one remit that I would like you to understand. And when I came here in August last year, it's fair to say we've not got the best reputation. I'm sure some of that's very well earned. But I'm pleased that I get to come to an event like this today, because what I'm looking to do is build some credibility and build some links with everyone today, because I want to be out here and we as a company want to be speaking to everyone. We want to be engaging with you, and I want to know, what do you need from me? Because I don't have all the answers for the Cambridge network. We've got some ideas about what we've been doing, and I'll touch on that. But very much my session is not to talk to you, because I think there's been enough of that over the years. I'm here to listen. So please, don't be shy to shout out any questions. I think I'll have a bit of Q&A later on, but I'm happy to go around the room and have a quick talk with everyone. But there's no question, big or small, that I won't answer. If I can't answer it today, I'll find out and I'll come back to you. So, Stagecoach East, what have we been doing really? Okay, so when I came here in August, hopefully, a lot of you have seen a bit of an improvement in the services. They're not perfect. When I came here, we did have operational difficulties, I think was the official line. We've put a stop to that now. Since the turn of the year, I can honestly, hand on heart, say we have been running our services. So if you're waiting for the bus now, I want you to have confidence that it will turn up. Yes, there'll be the odd one or two occasions when something happens, but we're not going back to how we were during last summer or before. So the buses are going where they should. Looking at that, I want to expand. We want to expand the business, because Cambridge is it's a great city. It's a really growing city, to be honest. What I'm told is, I can find out because I've now moved here, is it's very expensive to live in. So what we're finding is there's a certain expectation in Cambridge. You want a London-style bus service. You want fast, frequent buses. But it's not quite an urban market. I think central Cambridge is, but with people expanding out and going to the towns and villages, we need to find a way that we can serve that. I think the days of one bus every 2 hours, one bus an hour, are dwindling a little bit. I understand customer sentiment is there. I think we recognise that we need to look at the network. The last time it was reviewed properly was probably mid-2000s, so you're talking about 15 years ago. I think it was fit for purpose back then, but we need to look at it and refresh it. So on that note, I've got 2 adverts out at the minute, so I'm looking for 2 additional network planners. It's quite a big job to review an entire city network, but I think it's the right way. And what we don't want to do now is we don't want to just make a knee-jerk reaction. We've put extra buses in the busway, and that was about September last year. We've put extra buses in since January this year because we're meeting demand with movements of hospitals. But what you will see from me and some of the other senior team, and more importantly the local managers, because I want you to meet your local manager. Don't know if anyone's met any of the managers from Cambridge Depot? No, that's my fault then. I'll make sure that, you have Richard, which is good, but I'll make sure you get out and about, because that's key, because I want them to know who you are and what you want. So we're reviewing the network as a whole. Ticketing and pricing, a bit complicated. We have about 50 different tickets. Too confusing for customers, I can barely get my head around it. And I'll go on record, and the thing that I want you to understand is, we will be open, we will be honest. I think we're probably too expensive. There's a recognition for that. Now, I'm not going to commit today on what your new fares are going to be, but you will have noted that just past in April, we haven't raised fares, because we've realised that we've not been where we need to be. We are getting back there now, but we're reviewing our fares for the network. So that's simplify them, make them more affordable, but as you'll imagine, there's some pretty complicated sums we need to do behind the background, but there is a view that we want to make it more affordable, more cheaper, more frequent service. Off the back of that, we're not going to jump in. So hopefully some of you have come across a couple of our promotions at the minute. We're doing the £1 fare between Cambridge City Centre and Addenbrooke's, which has been a tremendous success. We're not doing that for fun. We want bums on seats. I'm thinking about tomorrow, next year, 5 years' time. It's no good us making money now, we need to be future-proof, and the way we do that in a declining bus industry, well, not declining bus industry, patronage is declining, customers are my focus, and it's our focus. So I want you to be out on the bus, and I want you to have confidence in it. So we're trying on that to see how it goes, and it's been great. We've also done a NHS discount, which is 15%, which again, we're working pretty closely with Adam Brooks as well, and now Pat Buff have moved. And that is just, we've seen an extra 14,000 passengers on our services as a passenger changes, which is great. But as I said, that's some of the priorities that I see it. And if you disagree with me, that's okay. Tell me. I'm here today. I've got as much time as you need. If I can't fit all the questions in today, then please let me know if any of you are part of local residents associations, if you're part of any local groups at all, because I want you to feed that to me, please. And if I can't come and speak to you, hear your concerns and hear what you want, then I'll make sure one of us do, and I'll make sure the managers do. So that's really the long and the short of it for me. So maybe a wee bit under 15 minutes, but do you want to do some questions just now? But I said the important thing is I'm looking at the network. You will see more of us at pop-up events in town. We've started to do a few more. But come September time, we have got some big plans actually. We've got one really good launch in September, and I'm pleased to meet my competitor today. We'll have a good chat to you. You'll need to excuse me if I don't tell you the exact details because I'm a wee bit sensitive, but we've got something really good coming in September, which I think is a bit of a marker. It's not the young end, it's phase 1. But just come and talk to us because we're open for business, and when I'm designing the network, and not me personally, but when we're designing the network, tell us what you want, tell us where you want the buses to go, tell us if you think you don't need to serve that anymore, or everyone's going to come and say they want a 10-minute frequency, a 5-minute frequency. I tell you, I can't do it. But what I can do is listen to your concerns, and we'll find somewhere in between. And we might not be able to get exactly what you want now, but who's to say in years to come that we can't build towards it? And that's why it's quite encouraging. We've had some conversations with Mike, got some stick off Mike, which is okay, because we need to own up to it. But I'm really pleased that we can have this conversation today.
So just to clarify, one of the pieces of work that we did do as an executive committee was we tried to work out what our aims and priorities were for Cambridge area bus users. It's very encouraging to hear how you're approaching it, and thank you very much, and that's the same response that we've received from Misha Hargreaves, so thank you very much indeed. So I will give you a copy of this later, but it's just to say that just to remind us what our aims are. Our aims as Cambridge area bus users to represent and campaign on behalf of bus passengers in and around Cambridge, to be recognised by local authorities as consultees representing bus users, and to make travelling by bus the first choice for most people in the Cambridge area. So our priorities were, we worked through, and this isn't definitive, but it's a sort of feeling for what we wanted, was excellent bus information, appropriate bus routes, taking people from where they are to where they want to go, ticketing connections and boarding to be smooth and cross-operator connected if possible. That'd be nice if we could chat to each other about that, so that we could use one ticket for everything. And prepaid tickets would be good, but then also attractive and comfortable buses and infrastructures, so that when you step out of your door in the beginning in the morning to go to work, your first choice is bus. And because cars will become increasingly problematic going into Cambridge and anywhere else. So we'd like people to be thinking firstly about taking the bus. And of course frequency of buses, so when they become sufficiently frequent you don't have to check the timetable, and we'd like to maintain our bus services in the future. So I'll give you a copy of that so you can have that as our record. But did you want to respond to any of those?
The one thing I can say is we're committed to Cambridge, so we're investing over £4 million in September. What I need, what we really need, please, is your help, because bus travel and to meet, we share a lot of these demands. Congestion is crippling in the city. Let's use the example of the city too. So about a year ago, that had, and I answered some questions on Mill Road because I know that will come up. City 2 about a year ago had a 10-minute frequency, and then Parkford's got to 20-minute frequency. I'll tell you exactly why. It's not because we wanted to do it, it's because congestion was slowing our journeys. We couldn't keep to time. To keep to time, we would have, and keep the same frequency, we would have had to put an extra bus on. That's £120,000 a year, that costs. There's no extra passengers there for that route. How is that sustainable? And the answer is it wasn't. We are committed, so before that we spent £4 or £5 million a couple of years ago on a new fleet for the park and rides. We are investing in here, but I need your help, and I need you to support me and to pressure the local city council, pressure your MPs as well, because we need to do something to tackle congestion, because if it keeps going this way, journeys are going to get slower, and that's what leads to less frequencies, and that's just not in the interest of either of us here at all. It really isn't. The busway is great for that, because we can get people in quick, but I don't know if any of you've used the busway. As soon as you hit Cambridge, it slows right down.
Thank you. So, do we have some questions for Ross? Mike's currently going to be our roving mic, which is great.
Very easy.
So, okay, let's take the gentleman next to you.
20-minute frequency would be marvellous if you live in Newnham. Newnham is quite a large chunk of the city of Cambridge. You run one bus an hour, none after 7 o'clock in the evening, none on Sundays. Andy Campbell said there was no prospect of improving that. You saying that's wrong?
I'm saying the difference now is it's not straight though. We'll have the conversation. Part of, well, I alluded to a phase 1 of something in September. The phase 2, or possibly phase 3, will be later buses. It will be later buses in the evening, because Cambridge is pretty vibrant city.
To clarify, you don't mean later buses.
No, sorry, no. They'll arrive on time, but they'll be running later into the evening. Later into the evening, and more buses on Sundays. More, but I was at a Cambridge bid event last week, and it was really interesting for me, because you speak to all the high streets and they're really struggling at the minute. You have a big company, you have massive multi-million corporations, and you have independent retailers. But what they said was interesting. They said Saturday isn't our business day anymore. It's a Thursday evening thing. That's what it is, Thursday evening. But increasingly, people, local residents, they know what Cambridge is like on a Saturday. So people are coming in this Sunday now. So that's one of the things that we're really looking at as well. And generally, running on a Sunday, we have the buses around. My job is to get the drivers and get us out there. So I can't commit right now, but that's exactly what I mean. If anyone here has, give me a wish list. Give me a wish list of what you want, and we can look through it. And then even when we do design something, we'll come back to you, we'll speak to you and say, this is what we're thinking. Let's have a report here, have a dialogue before we do it, because we want it.
Thank you. And that's nice to know. So, how about the lady here in the second row?
Ruth.
My name is Ruth, and I was on the committee, but realised I couldn't get or involved. I'm a patient governor at the hospital.
Oh gosh, yes.
Ross, in your speech, you mentioned twice access to Addenbrooks, and you also mentioned Mill Road. I'm not even touching the closure of the bridge. That will come later. Last year, the decision was taken to take the C2 every 10 minutes going to Sainsbury's and a further 10 minutes going to Addenbrooks. Now, I may be naive, but I do feel that people having access to their local hospital is slightly more important than having access to a supermarket. That's point one. I did suggest, I understand the problem of congestion, and I did suggest to Stagecoach that they do it the other way around. All buses go to Addenbrooks, from Addenbrooks to the city centre, because from there people have choice of buses to Cambridge North. The people on Mill Road and the route that the bus takes to Addenbrooks have no other choice. They don't have any bus stops with shelters, they don't have any timetable indicators. That's not right. We should be able to access our local hospital and not have to wait at least 20 minutes for a bus.
Okay, thanks, Ruth. Really good point.
And getting back again as well.
Yeah.
But So I met with one of the, I don't know if anyone knows Jane Phillips from the Local Residents Association, Burwood Road. So I met with her on Wednesday. She sat down with myself and the engineering director. She gave me a plan of what residents would like in the area. I'm all ears. What I'd be very interested to is the City 2 keeps coming up. I don't know all the history behind it. I know the gist of it, but if we can spend a few minutes afterwards, just I can hear your thoughts. But if you're telling me this is where people want to go, and at the minute it's a barrier, and that's the thing, it can't be for one person. I'm not assuming it is now. But if this is what you know, your area's got an idea, you know where people want to travel, and we have that data to analyse it. If people want to go from A to B, and there's a barrier in keeping them, or we're not taking them there, then I need to know about it. So if I can pick that up with you just afterwards, that'd be great. Thanks.
Thank you. How about the gentleman at the back there?
If not that.
1, 2, 3, 4 rows.
1, 2, 3, 4.
4
There we
rows.
go.
Next gentleman.
It's even 5.
My name's Steve. Ross, you've mentioned expanding the services quite a lot, but bearing in mind that you're a commercial company and every service has to show a profit, how do you intend to fund it?
So about 95% of our services are commercial at the minute, which means we own them, we run them. It will be through fares. So that's one of the issues that I'm juggling about at the minute and we're looking at. So as part of the fare review, we're looking at lowering the fares. There's a cost to that. Some of the learnings that we're doing from what we're doing, the £1 fare and the 15% NHS discount for us to take learnings. So if we do this change to the price, what's the yield of passengers? What's the trend that we can extrapolate from that? And then we're going to apply that to the fares. So the only way it will work is if we can get more passengers, is the honest answer. But what we need to do is just work with yourselves. We need to come up with a plan. And what I would say is, we've looked at our network and we've had people analysing it. Okay, and I'll share with you the findings because it's quite shocking. They think to make the current network as it is completely reliable, and 100% of the time as close as we can get, we need to put about 37 buses in at £120,000 a bus. We're not going to do that. But there's initiatives that we can come up with Mike and get the support. I think we can invest in a new fleet, but if the infrastructure's not there, if the bus lanes aren't there, if the route time isn't credible and accurate, then we're going to have a problem. But we're going to use these learnings that we've got on the price promotion, and we're going to hope that that's going to lead, and I'm fairly confident that's going to lead to the next boost in passengers. But that will be on select routes at first for the frequencies because we can't target it all. One of the key things that we mentioned Mill Road earlier, Mill Road's a bit of a pain for everyone, to be honest. That's a real headache for us, and the worry for me for that is I understand why we do, why it needs to be done. But when you give customers a chance to look for alternative means, be that walking, cycling, taxis, Mill Road will cost us customers. We could put no foot wrong, we could do a great service for the shuttles, but it would cost us customers because they found alternative means. We need to keep them there. But the shuttle service we're putting on, we now have three Sprinter class vehicles. So it's not the full size of a bus, it's a very, very nice minibus. I've got the opportunity to do something with them afterwards. So we're not getting rid of them. So that allows me, whereas we may not be able to send a single deck or a double deck vehicle out into some little rural places, I can maybe send these.
I'm just...
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, and Neil in front. Thank you. Neil here.
Oh, where are we?
The gentleman
Yeah.
next. Okay.
Hello, I'm Neil Harris. I live in Willingham, which is one of the outskirt villages. Just a comment on fares. I was actually doing a little bit of looking up today to get from Willingham to St Ives. We have to use two buses. We have to use the local bus, which runs once an hour on devious routes. We then connect to the guiding busway. I found two different fares on two different buses. The one that goes to the long-standing park and ride first was more expensive than the one that goes to Swavesey first. So on checking, I found that all the fares from Long Stanton, which is the nearest park and ride on that route into Cambridge, are more expensive than, say, from Oakington, where there isn't a park and ride. So basically,
Too expensive at Longstaff.
yeah, but basically also it's £4 to Cambridge or to Tonige from Longstanton, but from Swavesey or Oakington, which is the next stops, it's £2.80.
Yeah.
It seems inconsistent and not encouraging people to use the bus route.
Thank you, Neil.
And just very quickly to point that out, so I've met with the residents of Northland, because it's quite a hot topic for them as well. And one of the things that we've agreed is we will look at the boundary. We will look at the boundary, because when you factor in, like I said, give someone an alternative means how much does it cost you to run your car and fuel, how much does it cost you to park, how much does it cost you in time when you come back. We need to do something with that boundary, that's it.
And to be clear, the boundary that you're talking about is the boundary between the mega rider zone
The first
and
stages, yeah.
the
Mega Rider Plus.
mega rider plus.
So that's the boundaries. But we need to make it simple.
Thank you. A gentleman here in the front row. No, sorry, second row. Sorry. I'm just keeping you moving around.
Hello, it's Councillor Ashton for Cherryhinton Ward in Cambridge. It's refreshing, Ross, that you are saying you want to have consultation with us. In my opinion, that's 8 years too late. We can't go over the past, but your predecessor actually said at one meeting I was at with them, I don't believe in consultation, I'm here to run a business, and that's what it's about. I haven't got time to
Well,
consultate.
aren't we lucky that we've got new management?
Yes, well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Can you let me finish and then ask the question? You pointed out that congestion is a major problem, and the congestion is coming about because the bus services were taken off without any consultation. And in Cherryhinton, we had 2 services removed without any consultation, and as a councillor, we get an email sent through to say, these are the services that are going to be removed. So I will make an appointment to see you to talk about the services in Cherryhinton. And again, you mentioned about you'd need 37 more buses to make reliable service. Well, I'm sure your competitor might like to put 37 buses on to make that service up. But congestion will get worse if the bus services aren't improved, because people, like you say, find an alternative. So once you remove a bus route, people have to find an alternative, and they will use the car. And once they've used the car, it's really difficult to get out of the car.
Thank you, Councillor Ashton. In fact, that's just, if I may, just briefly, one of the things that I think part of the reason that so much has come up about City 2 is because the service used to be brilliant. When I first moved into my village, the bus stop was a short way down the road, and I hardly ever needed to use the timetable because it was so frequent. But it's not only been shortened in length, but also less frequent, so I think that makes a big difference. So I think you can ask the question about.
We need to understand why we're doing certain things. Our preference is, let's use the 80-20 model, 20% looking back, 80% looking forward. We will consult with people. Okay, if there's things going wrong, let's have a conversation about it. Let's see what we can do to put it right. I'd love to promise you all the dazzling bus service that Cambridge deserves. I can't put a time frame on it yet, but what I can tell you is that, the thing we understand about business is it's about people. It's customer business. If we're losing customers, then that might be fine today, we make our money, but we're not going to make it next year. So let's talk about what you want, let's talk about what we can deliver, and let's consult on it.
And also, I would say that is the message we've got from the Stagecoach CEO, because they have said, she has said that she wants to put the passenger, the customer, at the core of the service, and so we've been very heartened by that. So we look forward to
And
that.
the good thing that's genuinely sort of a very big brief. I brought the stamp proof first on my flag jacket today, because that's generally what I walk into. We have an entire new senior team at Stagecoach. Now that's all come about within the last 6 months. So we have a new managing director, a new operations director, a new engineering director, the commercial director is doing something else now. We are very open. We have a meeting with the mayor every 2 months. We talk about plans for the future, and we're very lucky to have that, because the private sector would love to get that. Anyone in the private sector would love to get that. But we have, we're lucky to have Michelle. She's really good. She's a people person. To give you a little bit of background on Michelle, this is her third managing director's role. She's been managing director in the South West and down in Plymouth, Cornwall, Wilson. She's also been manager in East Midlands. We've been sent in here, as you can imagine, with a tough task, but it's one that doesn't faze us. takes a wee bit of time, but we'll consult you, we'll step away, and we'll be open and honest. And if you think we've done something wrong, then that's actually I need to hear that more than I need to hear what we've done right.
Okay, so can I just, I know there are lots of questions. Would you mind waiting until the end? Because I'd like to give Gary a chance to speak. This is Gary Fawkes from Ascendar, which is the parent group of Wicked. Is that okay?